Hi, I'm Justin Doren, the Vice President of Communications at the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives, and I'm here with Lisa Van Doren, our Chief of Staff of Government Affairs, to talk a little bit about some of what's going on in agriculture in Washington, D.C. this week. Lisa, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Good to see you, Justin. I think the kids are downstairs eating lunch and they're watching Peppa Pig, so we probably got a good 15 minutes of no chaos.
Well, let's hope it doesn't take that long. So my first question is I think in the last few months here at NCFC, we've kind of pivoted very quickly from the work that we were doing to helping our members respond to the pandemic and everything else. So I know that there's a lot that's been going on in that time, but what are some of the key things that the government affairs team has worked on to help co-ops and their farmer members through this unprecedented time?
Yeah, the last 3.5 months feels more like 3.5 years in some respects. Our team didn't miss a beat, and I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to do on behalf of our members during this absolutely unprecedented time. Nobody could have prepared for something like this. We've been working round the clock remotely, like everyone else, as issues popped up, having to, in those early weeks, triage various stay-at-home orders and how they impacted our producers from farm gate all the way to, delivering to your grocery stores and the grocery store clerks. Working with the administration to make sure they understood the importance of getting a definition of essential workers right when it comes to agriculture and not leaving anybody out of that supply chain. We had a number of ag labor issues that came up and continue to this day. And then, early legislative efforts. Congress never acts quickly, but in times of crisis, they are able to do things fairly rapidly. And we saw 3 packages get out the door, spending trillions of dollars. The programs weren't always perfect, but they were designed to be a Band-Aid. And we had to work closely with the administration to ensure that farmer co-ops and their farmer members were eligible for those programs, such as the Paycheck Protection Program administered by the Small Business Administration, and making sure that they worked for us. I think in this time, we've never been more active and engaged with our membership. We've had conference calls on a near weekly basis with the bulk of our membership, communication across all platforms to keep them informed, and even creating resources on our website to help them navigate what's going on, both at the federal level and in their states.
That's great. And, I know that you mentioned the 3 phased bills that they had to respond to the pandemic, and Congress sort of acted with unusual haste for them, or at least compared to what we've seen in recent years in doing that. There's been a lot of talk about a phase 4 bill, and one actually passed the House, I guess a couple weeks ago now. Time seems to fly. What do you think the prospects are of getting that phase 4, not only through the Senate, but what are some of the things in there that co-ops and their members might find useful?
Yeah, so you mentioned the House passed bill. It was called the HEROES Act. It spent about $3 trillion, a third of that to go to state and local government agencies to help states and municipalities battle this economic crisis and COVID response. But included within that was a considerable relief measures for agriculture, both at the farm gate and then through the value chain, including such things as helping livestock producers who had to depopulate, helping make them whole in their lost market value of that livestock. So there was a number of things in there that we took a look at and support and hope to see the Senate take up. That's the question. When does the Senate proceed to this? We're going to see a 2-week recess in the Senate around the July 4th holiday, and we expect when they come back from that they'll take a look at their version of a phase 4 in earnest. I think senators have been pretty clear. They wanted to get a handle on all of the money that's gone out the door thus far, trillions of dollars, and how it's worked, where are the holes, and what still needs to be addressed. And so those things are what the committees in the Senate have been working on this month, and reporting out ideas and legislation to be included in that phase 4 package. I suspect that we will see something negotiated in the 2 to 3 weeks before they leave for August recess, and we get a Senate passed package at least before they head out of town for that August recess. They can't afford politically to go home without having acted on something. Does that mean phase 4 is completely wrapped up and done, signed by the president by August recess? Not so sure, possibly. But that could mean that negotiations between the Senate and the House continue over that August recess, and we see something early September finally getting across the finish line.
Switching gears just a little bit here, 2020 is, of course, an election year, a presidential election year. And, if this was a normal year, I think we would be expecting that not much would get done between now and the election. Beyond a phase 4 package, what can we realistically think about seeing Congress do here in the next, 4 or 5 months or so?
Yeah, even in normal years, like you said, it's near impossible to see much happen after Memorial Day in a year divisible by 2. This one's no different. All things aside, the chaos of 2020, whether that's dealing with COVID and the economic crisis, the civil unrest that we're seeing, all of those things are compounding the difficulties in getting legislative passed. They do have a laundry list of things, though, that they have to deal with before the end of the fiscal year. That includes the regular appropriations that need to all be addressed. In the House and in the Senate, they are trying to proceed through regular order and passing those appropriation bills. The House is hoping to get most of them passed before they leave for the July 4th recess, and the Senate is looking at that 2-week period prior to August recess to try to conclude much of their action. At the end of the day, though, I think it's safe to say, even without the chaos of 2020, that we will see some sort of continuing resolution to get us past the election, to keep the federal government operating, because it's just probably not possible to get majority of those appropriation bills across the finish line and to the president's desk. In addition, there are other areas that are set to expire, other issues set to expire, such as the surface transportation bill that needs reauthorization. Flood insurance program needs reauthorization. Not necessarily something that expires, but usually something that gets bipartisan support and will likely see action on is the Water Resources Development Act, which has a lot of things in there that agriculture follows and supports. So there are a number of bigger ticket items that they've got to address prior to September 30th. And I think most of those will come in the form of an extension. The politics will just not allow them to finish it up.
Sounds like even so, it promises to be a busy couple of months here for a little bit. So one final question, this week I'm talking to different NCFC staff members about the issues that they handle and that are coming up right now. And, all of these issues impact our co-op members in different ways and their farmer owners in different ways. And one of the things that we like to really hammer home at our Washington conference that we usually hold here at the end of June is that having policymakers here in Washington who understand co-ops and understand agriculture is very important. And that, farmer co-ops making their voices heard here is very important. So as we head into election season and beyond that and into a new Congress in 2021, how can co-ops make sure that their elected officials are working for farmers and their co-ops?
That's a great question, Justin. This is an issue that we hammer home at every meeting and in every opportunity to make sure that our members understand why they need to engage. Politics is a full contact sport. If you don't get in the game, you're going to lose. Somebody else is going to play that game for you. And so we are constantly trying to make sure our members have the tools they need to engage their members of Congress on any issue and engage the administration as issues arise, such as the Section 199 regulation. We are in the thick of that issue, and it requires full engagement on the part of our members to make sure that members of Congress understand the impact that regulation could have on farmers and their co-ops, and that the administration understands the ramifications of such regulation. Also the pandemic showed weaknesses in the ag supply chain, weaknesses that I don't think we could have foreseen. In response to that, what are things that Congress can do to ensure that the next COVID, we are better prepared? We are better prepared to have, employers suited for such kinds of pandemics. We have cold storage available at food banks and in localities to meet that storage need. So those are things that we are talking with folks on the Hill about. We're talking with our members, trying to understand, what did you see during this pandemic that you need assistance with to prepare going forward? So those are all areas where, I think co-ops can engage their policymakers, can educate them on what went right, what went wrong, and how we can address it going forward. But you got to participate in this process if you want to have that impact.
Thank you again, Lisa, for giving us an update here on the ag issues that we're likely to see come up here on Capitol Hill and in Washington in the next few months until the election. And again, this has been one of NCFC's Washington Conference virtual briefings. If you want more information on any of the issues that you heard here today, or anything that you hear on any of our briefings, you can go to our NCFC website at www.ncfc.org. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.